Welcome to Red Kingdom Sports. Today we are here to discuss the Cowboys and Chiefs game from Week 11, and that was not even close to how I thought that game was going to go. I don't think that was how most people thought this game was going to go. We expected a high-scoring game, a shootout, and it wasn't even close to that. It was a game where the Chiefs' offense got hot really quick, kind of slowed down, and then just kind of became a defensive slugfest later on in that game because once the Chiefs got they had a 16-3 lead. After that, they scored grand total of 3 points in the second half and didn't do anything else after that. So let's look at some stats in this game. The Chiefs defeated the Cowboys 19-6. Mahomes went 23 of 37 for 260 yards, an interception, a lost fumble. Now I will say that interception, you could chalk that up to more than likely being on Travis Kelce, because he had a chance to catch that and just completely dropped it. So you can kind of chalk that up to him. Clyde had 12 attempts, 63 yards, a touchdown. Travis Kelce had 5 receptions, 74 yards. Tyreek Hill had 9 receptions, 77 yards. Charvarius Ward, Snead each had an interception, and Chris Jones had 3.5 sacks, along with Frank Clark having a sack of his own and a strip sack. And then you can chalk up the fumble recovery to Chris Jones. Now, if one thing I want to look at really quick, because I thought this was kind of entertaining when it came to this game, and not really entertaining. Well, it was entertaining because I was honestly laughing, and it was after that Clyde touchdown. What the hell were the refs doing? Like, it made no sense. Like, Clyde simply pointed at somebody. At this point, I don't understand what the point of emphasis is. And it wasn't just that taunting call. Let's be honest. The refs were completely terrible for both sides in this entire game. I know on Twitter I was, harping. It's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It helped the Chiefs. The refs are in favor of the Cowboys. No, the refs were consistently bad in this entire game. And it really sucks because the story of this game isn't going to be the refs at all. And I'm not trying to make it about that. But I'm just trying to point out how funny and how ridiculous that taunting call was. Like, Clyde simply pointed at somebody, and it was his first game back. So I don't understand what the refs were seeing there. Like, he pointed at somebody, and all it did was push back the extra point, which Buckner still made. But I thought it was the funniest and also the dumbest, absolute dumbest taunting call you possibly could have thrown. Like, there was no need for that. Absolutely none. Like, it's still funny to think about. He pointed at somebody, and for some reason it's still a point of emphasis, taunting is, but like, Clyde had no intentions on hurting anybody, starting anything. If you wanted to argue, there was a Cowboys player who had a face mask on Fenton, who then Fenton got called for a taunting call, but the refs had to use their stupid little New York buddy system to, call the face mask, offset the penalties, and it wasn't a big deal afterwards. But I'm just like, these refs were bad. And you had the Trey Smith holding, I think is what it was, but fine, whatever. It was a penalty on Trey Smith, I believe. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not. That'd be bad. But then he just, chirps at the refs. He's like, hey, come on, be better. And then, the refs threw a flag because his feelings got hurt. And I'm just like, man, these refs are so soft. It's like they really enjoy putting their 2 cents into these games. And it's really annoying and really frustrating to watch. So let's get into some analysis from this game, even though the analysis probably isn't going to be the best. Shout out to the entire Chiefs defense. I don't think there's one guy that you can completely be like, oh, they stood out more than the other. Now, you obviously had the young guys, Snead, Bolton, Gay. They stepped up in massive ways. And you had some veteran guys and just, guys that have been there for a while. Obviously, Honey Badger always plays well. Thornhill even had a good game. Fenton had a good game. The entire line had a good game. Chris Jones obviously had a good game. Frank Clark, we harped on him a lot early on in the season. He had an amazing game. He had the sack and a forced fumble, which, early on in a game like that, the Chiefs kind of struggled offensively, which we'll get into that later on in the game. But early momentum can really shift away in a game plays because, the Chiefs, maybe all they do is force a punt and they don't get the fumble recovery and all that. Maybe it doesn't swing the momentum and make the Cowboy, and it doesn't, help the defense. Because when the fumble happened, I think that once that strip sack fumble Frank Clark recovered by Chris Jones happened, I feel like that really turned the momentum for this team. And I think the defense played really well, like I was mentioning. Willie Gay played an amazing game. Snead could be I'm being serious when I say this. Snead could be a sneaky defensive player of the year kind of guy because he played amazing. Charvarius Ward, has had struggles at times. He played great. That interception at the end of the first half on CD Lamb. Now, unfortunately, CD did get hurt, and there was a lot of injuries for the Cowboys in this game. Do I think it may have changed it? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's quite like the Packers game where it was just Jordan Love and, it was a quarterback that was out. It was, role players that were out. Now, that does have an effect on a game, but I still don't think it necessarily affected the game as much as it may have thought, because I still think the Cowboys have one of, if not the deepest wide receiver rooms in the NFL. But the interception at the end of the half by Ward was a thing of beauty. I loved every second of this defense. The pressure they were getting, Chris Jones, moving him back into the middle, and I saw this on Twitter. I'm not taking credit for this, but I saw this, and it's like if it was, Spags honestly could have taken away a Defensive Player of the Year kind of season away from Chris Jones because of how well he's played since he's moved back to the middle. 3.5 sacks. He had more sacks in this game than he had all season. And I think as a whole, the team had 4 sacks, but it was a beautiful. The defense balled out in so many different ways. Every guy stepped up, played amazing. I want to give credit, the young guys played well. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, our veteran secondary guys, Honey Badger, Thornhill played great, Fenton. Everybody played great. They were able to get pressure on Dak, exploit the fact that the Cowboys were missing an offensive lineman. When you have a game like that and the other team is missing a key piece of their offensive line, you're expected to get pressure on the quarterback. If, the Chiefs weren't able to get pressure on Dak Prescott with the backup offensive lineman in the game, then that's when we're like, okay, we have a problem and something needs to change. But the Chiefs did their job against a backup lineman, and that's what you can ask for a team like that. The Cowboys coming in as the number one scoring team, number one offense, just number one almost in everything offensively, and to come in and play like that was a pure thing of beauty. It's really hard just to give an MVP. Chris Jones, obviously, if we had to give out a game ball, it would go to him. But an MVP of the defense today, I think it was everybody. I think, and give credit to Spags, because I know a lot of us were on his case early on in the season. I think it was around the Ravens game. I think it was still only week 2 where they played absolutely poorly. But credit to Spags, credit to everybody on that defense. I think everybody played fantastic, and it was a thing of beauty to watch. Now, offensively, they did start off really, really hot. I thought offensively, getting off to that hot start kind of swung the momentum of the game too, because the very first, drive, it was less than a minute and a half into the game, the Chiefs were able to force a punt on defense and then get the ball and immediately score a touchdown. So that really, really quick start for the Chiefs, I think, helped this game because, like I probably mentioned before, momentum to start a game can change the way an entire game goes. And I think the Chiefs' hot start, the pressure that they put on Dallas, really, really helped the Chiefs in this game. Offensively, that quick start, they got up to a 16-3 lead. And, really after that, they didn't look back. Now, the offense didn't necessarily play well. Like I mentioned earlier, you had the Kelsey drop pass. But for an interception, but again, the defense played so well that even after the interceptions and turnovers, they held the Cowboys to 9 total points, 3 field goals. So it really sucked to see the offense struggle like that. But when you have the defense picking up like they did, it really helps the team as a whole. Now, obviously, I think there's things the Chiefs can do a little bit better from this game. Clyde had, for him just running the ball 12 times, 63 yards. I think if they run the ball with him just a few more times, get him 20 carries a game. We're not asking for him to do Derrick Henry type loads of running the ball every game. But you're looking at Clyde, 12 attempts, 63 yards, and a touchdown in there in his first game back. The dude is a beast. He's hard to take down. So I think if you run the ball 20 times, Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers has a goal of running the ball 40 times. Have a goal of running the ball 20 times with Clyde. And I think that'll do wonders. I think it'll help it'll open up Mahomes' options a little bit more. And it just really stinks that they don't continue to run the ball. I think Andy Reid, in a way, might be allergic to running the ball. But offensively, that quick start was great. They were doing all their fancy stuff, end arounds. Mahomes was making big plays to everybody on there. Hardman, we did harp on early on in the game with his drop, but early on offensively, I think they were playing great. And you even had Travis Kelce lining up in shotgun, running that wildcat straight down the middle for a touchdown. That was fun to watch. It's just the offense, it just completely stalled out in the second. It really, from, I'd say, the fumble from Mahomes on in the game, I'd say the offense completely stuttered and stalled and everything else. It felt like they struggled really hard to move the ball any. Now, I don't think that'll last. Like, last week was a great game against the Raiders. Offense could do everything. This week started off really, really hot. And credit to the Cowboys defense, their ability to stop the Chiefs. After they got the lead, didn't let it get out of hand, because the Chiefs, had many chances where I thought they could close out that game and they didn't. So credit to the Cowboys defense for not letting them close out the game. But I just felt like there was so many opportunities. And even those 2 turnover drives, Mahomes and, Kelce doesn't drop the ball. Mahomes doesn't fumble the ball. Maybe those drives end in more points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. And even if it is 2 more field goals, it's already 25-6, and that game is completely out of hand for the way that the defense has been playing. But because they turned the ball over, Harrison Buckner did miss a field goal. They unfortunately were only able to get 19 points, but they only held the number 1 scoring offense to 9 points, or 6 points. Yeah, 9 points. I have 6 written down on my paper. It's supposed to be 9. So offensively, wasn't the best performance. Obviously, room for improvement still. But if this defense plays like it did the rest of the season, and the offense can just get right, at this point, I don't expect 2018 Mahomes, because at that point, he was new to the league. No one knew what to do. And it took them till really last year to figure out a way to, I wouldn't say stop. No one's figured out the Chiefs offense. Figured out is the wrong word. And I don't even want to use contain, because I don't even think contain's the right word, because I think the Chiefs are beating themselves offensively. I think that's a fair word. I think the Chiefs are beating themselves offensively. So if the Chiefs defense plays like they did, and the Chiefs stop beating themselves on offense, today's game was nothing near like it was like a few other games where they just flat out beat themselves in everything they did. This game, they were able to score quickly early on in the game. That was great. But they beat themselves more towards the end of the game. Like, there was games this year where they literally beat themselves the entire game. Like the Titans game, they beat themselves all game and they couldn't do anything. So I think if they stop beating themselves and the defense plays like this, the Chiefs are going to be a tough team to beat. Because I think I saw that if next week, I think if the Titans lose and the Chiefs can win, the Chiefs are close to the number 1 seed in the AFC, just because of how crazy and stupid the AFC has been all year. So the Chiefs legit have a chance for the number 1 seed, because there's not a best team in football right now. The Packers lost, the Cowboys lost, Titans lost, Bills lost, Rams are struggling. They didn't play this week. Buccaneers, they don't play until tomorrow, but it's just a lot of these teams are struggling. And so the NFL is completely wide open right now. So yeah, as a biased Chiefs fan, I think if the Chiefs will stop beating themselves on offense and the defense plays like this, they will be the best team in football. Plain and simple. But yeah, that is my recap for the Chiefs-Cowboys game, Week 11. Give me your thoughts down below of what you thought of the game. Leave me a comment of what you thought of the video. And thank you guys so much for watching.